Hello there everybody and welcome to What Culture Football News, the football news show full of football news. I'm joined today by Andy Murray, or as he likes to call himself,
the Lee Carsley of eating parsley.
And I am the Mark Hughes of presenting the news, so let's get straight into it.
You want to know all about the latest information on the football?
Good, you can do it, you can do it.
Coming up today, we've got the latest information on Gareth Bale potentially going back to Tottenham.
Everton have signed a bona fide real-life English World Cup hero.
A new contract for one of Man United's most important players.
But first, what could potentially be the best transfer of the summer by the looks of it. If you joined us yesterday, we talked in depth about Harry Maguire going to Manchester United from Leicester for £80 million, and we try to balance that out by saying, while that is indeed a lot of money, yes, you don't really know in this absurd inflated transfer bubble quite how much 80 million should get you for centre-back, because obviously Van Dijk was absurd money last year, but proved to be a bit of a bargain in the end.
Yeah,
I think we'd all agree, so it's hard to really judge whether or not Harry Maguire for 80 million seems like a good deal, but when you sort of hold it up next to what I'm about to tell you, it feels like maybe not an overly great deal, because Ligt, however you like to pronounce his surname, the outstanding centre-back in the Champions League last year, probably the hottest property in Europe this season, looks to be heading to Juventus for £67.5 million, which, granted, he's only 19, and he's still young, and it's a lot of raw potential there. To get him for less than Maguire's going for seems like a bit of a steal.
It really does, because at 19 years old, he does, to me at least, come across as more of a complete player already at this stage in his career than Harry Maguire does. Harry Maguire obviously has several outstanding attributes. He's a great blood and thunder style British centre-back, but at the same time, he's not the most complete footballer in the world, not the most complete central defender in the world. So this seems like one hell of a deal for me, particularly when you consider just how in demand this guy has been all summer long. Obviously, Juventus are one of the biggest powers in world football these days, but they're not exactly up there challenging for the, well, they certainly weren't challenging for the Champions League last season. It's an interesting move for him. However, you know, chance to play with guys like Bonucci, Chiellini, learn a bit from them as well, add a few new layers to his game. I think this is really exciting.
By layers to his game, you mean that like really sort of, I don't want to say housing, but that lovely Italian defensive style that maybe a lot of like other nationalities just lack. The dark art, I believe it's called.
Yeah, we maybe need another word, seeing as we can't use the preferred word for this. That one, bastardry.
Bastardry, we'll go with that. It's an interesting one. He's only had 3 senior seasons at Ajax. He's only got a handful of caps for the Dutch national team. However, he was single-handedly like getting them through a lot of those early Champions League games. I think, you know, in the Tottenham game when they went out, it was because they finally managed to get around him. He nearly even blocked that Lucas Moura shot, and it would have been a very different season for him had they got to the final of that competition. It's just, I think if you've got the most highly rated centre-back in the world for 67 million, I think maybe you have to reassess how much you're paying for a man with a concrete block for a head. But what do I know?
Absolutely. Well, there's probably a little English player premium on top for Maguire as well. But no, I think this is one hell of a transfer. I think it really steals you.
Did you see the speech he did at the end? Because they did a big parade for Ajax this season. They were saying, look, we're back as a world football power. And they gave him the microphone as the captain. And if you didn't know who he was, right, you were like, oh, here is a like 29, 30-year-old inspirational club legend who's been there his whole life and knows exactly what this means. It was like, nah, it's just some 19-year-old. Dig this out on YouTube. It is genuinely an awe-inspiring speech from him. Good, top lad. Top boy.
Let's move on to another top boy, Gareth Bale. Obviously one of the biggest names doing the rounds in the rumour mill at the moment. Probably will be all summer until he finally buggers off from Real Madrid. Well, we've got a new report here from Marca?
I think it's like chorizo and chorizo, depending on how much time you spent in Spain, whether you're not bothered by it.
Let's go for Marca. They have a new report concerning his future, claiming that Tottenham Hotspur are willing to pay somewhere in the region of 50 to 60 million euros for his services. However, they may not be able to afford his wages. Currently, Florentino Perez came out a few weeks ago and said, or maybe even a few days ago, and said that Bale is on roughly 12 million euros per annum. It's a heck of a lot of money. You know what Daniel Levy's like. He's probably seen that figure and kind of balked. So they'd apparently be willing to offer him roughly half that, 6 million a year.
12 million a year is $1 million a month, which is 250 grand a week.
Yeah.
Wow, is that a lot?
It's
That's
hard
all
to
for
say.
Spurs, isn't it?
It's a lot less than what Aaron Ramsey's earning, that's for sure. It is a lot for Spurs. It's like, they've already signed Ndombele for upwards of 60 million this summer. They signed the little fella Jack Clark from Leeds as well, but loaned him back. Interesting to see Tottenham perhaps taking more of an aggressive approach in the transfer market after recent seasons in which they've signed the square root of bugger all.
It kind of looks, I mean, it's similar to what's going on at Arsenal, really. Arsenal seem to be having a bit of a fallow period where they're trying not to spend too much on players, kind of build the squad in other ways and hopefully ride out. You presume it's a new stadium thing still for them somehow. Ride it out, wait till the Champions League money comes back in and then do stuff. But the problem Arsenal have got comparative to Spurs is their squad is much, 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 much weaker.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a lot stronger if they get the god of football, Kieran Tierney, in. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, Tottenham are probably going to be at the same level again next season that they were last. I mean, it's hard to see them progressing too much unless they do sign, this weakened version of Bale, is it fair to say? Like, he didn't have the best season.
It's one of them. I remember when Beckham went to Madrid.
Yeah.
And for years and years, people were going on, like, because he's out of sight and out of mind, sort of, people sort of assume he's not really the power he once was. I remember people like, we need to get Sean Wright-Phillips in the England team, all this accommodating Beckham. He's off in Spain doing God knows what, and he was legitimately still one of the best. Probably better than when he left England. I can't say I watch enough, like, you get to really say whether or not Bale's better or worse, but he still gets his game a bit of the time at Real Madrid. He can't be a bad player.
A quick look at the numbers. It is certainly too early to say he's finished or anything like this, but a quick look at last season's numbers. 38 games for his club. I think like 12, 13 of them were from the bench.
Not terrible.
Not terrible. 12 goals and 3 assists. Good numbers for most players, but for Gareth Bale, perhaps you might, look for more than that, but he's never been the guy at Real Madrid, of course. Maybe there was an opportunity for that to happen last season with Ronaldo moving on. It didn't happen for a multitude of different reasons. I think it would actually do him the world of good to head back to the Premier League and be the guy for Tottenham.
He knows he's going to go, if he goes to Spurs, he knows even if it takes him a while to hit the ground running, he's going to be given time, he's going to be accepted. The fans of him. Whereas if he goes to like a Man United or a Liverpool or Chelsea or anybody like that, it's, he's not their guy. You know what I mean?
A role player,
a lot would be expected of him immediately. Whereas, it's a nice little fit for him. They always say he should never go back, but Gareth Bale, go back.
Kevin Keegan did about 7 times, so why not?
Yeah, speaking of going back, which sort of counts if you're going there for the first time, I guess. Fabian Delph, English World Cup hero, 20 caps. I don't know where he's got those from, Fabian Delph, but 20 caps for England. He has moved on from Manchester City after a number of years, being there as a sort of surprisingly dependable squad player. He turned up at left back, he turned up at centre midfield. People thought they were just buying him to make that English quota for the Champions League, but I think it's fair to say he's really carved out something of a career for himself there. He was effectively the starting left back for most of last season when they were on that hot streak, but he has gone to Everton for a fee in the region of between 8.5 and 10 million. He goes as one of Everton's, not going to be one of the most expensive signings of the summer, but could prove to be one of the most prudent, I guess. Very versatile, very dependable. Still got a lot left at 29. I think that could be a really good buy, that.
Yeah, I think that's a really smart deal at up to 10 million. That's a real snip in today's market when you consider some of the numbers that are flying around for completely unproven players.
Got a lovely quote from him, if you'd like to hear the quote.
Oh, here we go.
Let's get the overlay up. The club that I've been at has had success. Very true.
Good.
Especially in the last 2 seasons. Nothing gets past Fabian Delph. But over the last 4 years, we managed to win trophies. I wanted to be playing more regularly, and the opportunity to come and play for Everton was too good an opportunity to turn down. Now, has he said that? Or is that just lifted straight from Football Manager press conferences?
That may as well have been written by an algorithm. Like,
You really get a flavour for his personality there, don't you? So yeah, Man City are really good, done really well the last 2 years since the best coach in the world's been there, but I don't play that much, and I'll probably play at Everton. I mean, fair enough. I mean, Rodri's just gone to Man City, so that's almost certainly his role in the squad completely diminished. So it's a good move for him. It strikes me, Delph was always going to be one of those, like, either going to an Everton or a West Ham type. They can afford him, they can afford his wages. He's got the sort of reputation to go there. I think that's a good move. I can see him doing well there.
He's a very unglamorous player, one that a lot of people will look at in like World Cup and even City squads still to this day and go, what's Fabian Delph doing there? But he's dependable, he's effective, he can do the ugly stuff well, he's a really good, solid role player, and I think he'll be a really good signing. 22
starts for Man City in the Premier League last season, given obviously Zinchenko came in towards the end and sort of made the left-back spot his own. But given how much rotation Guardiola does, 22 starts for a quote-unquote like back-of-the-squad player, that's really impressive.
Yeah, solid stuff, and he's a player of significant pedigree. Let's see how he moves on. Chum, get it?
Yeah.
Yep, let's go. Let's talk a little bit about where we just spoke about Man City there a little bit. Let's talk about Man United. David De Gea coming off the back of not his most impressive
not his best season. No.
Not his best. Several high-profile mistakes. A few, let a lot of goals in that he maybe would have saved a season or two ago, but still far too early to say he's finished or any nonsense like that.
Yeah, your boyfriend's tweeted these are fraud, but that's about it.
That is raging.
Yeah, their boyfriend.
He has signed a new deal, or he's about to sign a new deal at Man United, according to the Telegraph. They're currently on a pre-season tour of Australia and Asia. When they come back, it's expected that De Gea will ink a deal worth up to £100,000 a week, making him the highest paid goalkeeper.
That's Simon Miller money
in the world. Simon Miller money. It'll make him Man United's second best player after Alexis Sanchez, who, after bonuses, takes home £500,000. Either way,
a week.
Yeah. It's just mental. Football is stupid. Why do you think I prefer the Scottish Premier League? This is good news for United. It ends the speculation.
It does, and I think it's probably good news for him because with that, speaking purely from the goalkeepers union standpoint, things can get in your head and your reactions and whatnot. You become doubtful. You sort of second guess yourself a lot, especially when it's comes for big decision making moments. And when you're a goalkeeper, those decision making moments are critical. It's not like you play in outfield. If you decide whether or not to go for a ball, well, you don't get it. You don't get it. If you're a goalie and you decide not to go for something you should have, that's your ass.
Yeah,
that's a goal. So I think this could help settle them down a bit. As you say, he did not have the most consistent of seasons. There was times under Mourinho and even Moyes where he was single-handedly dragging them into the top half of the league. He was getting them through games almost on his own. And he certainly wasn't last year, certainly not as much. So this could be good for him. This could settle him down a bit. We could see once again the David De Gea that we all know and love.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be really good as well this season if United, shore up their defence a little bit and give them a bit more protection. Obviously, Victor Lindelof had a very good season, but occasionally when you have to play behind the likes of Phil Jones and Chris Smalling
and Fred,
you're gonna have the odd dodgy game here and there. It's inevitable. So fingers crossed that this sparks an upturn. I really like David De Gea. I think he, had a bit of a dodgy period when he came to England.
He's opened the papers yesterday and gone, Harry Maguire. Going straight to his agent, like, look, right, you need to make a phone call here. Like, I'm not doing that again.
I'm not doing this for $100,000 a week, brother.
Phil Jones with better hair.
Either way, good for him. Good for
him. And tell you what else is good for the person it's good for. There's a nice, lovely, shiny, overlaid image of Mauricio Pochettino's son signing his first pro contract. And isn't that cute? They've got the same Pochettino, that's a good one for that. Yeah, that's nice. I don't know if he's going to be any good. Could be the next Enzo Zidane for all we know. Enzo Zidane. Or the next Paul Dalglish for all we could guess. But
George Junior Weah. All kinds of ones.
There was
Diego Maradona Jr. as well, who did nothing.
Can't remember him. Should we go to the Twitter questions?
Let's do it.
As they're actually starting to come in thick and fast these days, by which I mean we've got two good ones we can use. If you want to get your Twitter questions into us, if this is a format we do on the wrestling channel, on the main channel, on the gaming channel, want to get your Twitter questions into us, we will answer some of them during the news. We are What Culture FC on Twitter. All welcome, the great, the good, the speculative, the analytical, whatever you want, we'll try our best. Andy, 3 teams to go down in the Premier League this season.
Newcastle,
Sheffield United.
Yeah. Sheffield United, the players they're targeting don't really fill me with enthusiasm for the chances that they have. Ollie McBurney, and he scored a lot of goals in the Championship last season, but watching him for Scotland, that guy, he's no good brother. Newcastle's an obvious one. They're a disaster club. It just feels like they're free-falling at the moment, and I don't really fancy Brighton's chances after Chris Hughton blew the coop either.
I will say, when Huddersfield and Brighton came up with Newcastle, I looked at the players they were buying and went, they haven't got a prayer, and they've both stopped up. Huddersfield were down last year, but Brighton stopped up quite comfortably the last 2 seasons. At the minute, it looks for all the world like Newcastle are a sinking ship. Obviously, thankfully, there looks like going to be some resolution with this Steve Bruce issue, so that might give them the shot in the arm they so desperately need. And there is talk about spending $35 million on some Joe Linton character from the lower leagues.
That's the one.
Never heard of him.
Bungle I hear.
Bungle yes. Yeah. He could be coming in, he could be good, but as things stand, they've brought nobody. They've lost their 2 best goal scorers. They've lost Hosselu as well.
Shar might be off too.
Kennedy's gone. It looks really, really bad for Newcastle at the minute. They are in free fall, and it would take genuinely awful seasons from the 3 promoted clubs to save them as it stands, but we reserve our right to change that opinion as and when the transfer window slams shut, because as you know, it doesn't close.
Yeah.
And finally, this is quite an interesting one. I should say that was from Stephen Taylor, that question.
Oh, wow.
I don't think it was from that Stephen Taylor. Anyway, from Darth Ramius to Mr. and Mrs. Ramius' son, Darth, who do you think has the best chance to go on an Ajax-esque dark horse run in the Champions League this year? Great question, that one.
Celtic. Scott Brown still.
Why?
Scott Brown still exists, so there you go.
Okay, good.
That's it.
I don't know if Atletico Madrid count, because they are quite a European powerhouse, but they've obviously bought João Felix this summer, so I don't know, they could upset the apple cart a bit. Not really fancy to get into the latter stages. Or failing that, I'm just going to put it out there, Inter Milan.
Inter Milan?
Yeah, I think Inter Milan are throwing a bit of money about. They looked inconsistently really good in Serie A last year, the tiny bits I've seen. And yeah, I'm going to say Inter Milan. Come back to me in like 9 or 10 months' time. See how ridiculous that looks.
Yeah, it's definitely Celtic, though. Can't wait till they go Christmas and I look like a moron.
Official What Culture FC verdict on dark horse of the Champions League this year. Celtic. There we go. Nice big rubber stamp on that one.
Bang,
anyway,
bang.
That was the news. Thankfully, we didn't have to talk too much about Newcastle this time for a change. Let us know what you made of it all, of course, in the comments below. Also, forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can get Andy on Twitter. Where?
At Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Henry Winter.
Very good. And you get me on Twitter at Adam Clery. We are both, and all of us indeed, What Culture FC. But in the meantime, as I've said, thank you so much for joining us for the news. We'll be back probably tomorrow for some more news, and we will news you news. News.
News.